Right now, somewhere on a dusty farm, a 70-year-old tractor is starting up on the first crank, running stronger than machines that rolled off the factory floor last year. These were tractors so overbuilt, so ridiculously tough, that killing them was practically impossible. But here is the cruel twist. The companies that made them either went bankrupt, got swallowed by competitors, or simply decided to stop building them. Today, we are counting down 25 legendary tractors that were engineered to run forever but got pulled off the production line anyway. Number 25. Fordson Model F. Let us start this countdown with the machine that basically invented the idea of an affordable tractor. The Fordson Model F rolled off the assembly line starting in 1917, and it changed everything about farming in America and around the world. Before the Fordson, tractors were massive, expensive machines that only wealthy landowners could dream of buying. Henry Ford had a different vision. He wanted to do for farming what the Model T had done for driving, and that meant building a tractor that ordinary farmers could actually afford. The Fordson Model F delivered on that promise. It was compact, lightweight compared to the giants of its era, and most importantly, it carried a price tag that did not require a second mortgage on the farm. The Fordson used a 4-cylinder gasoline engine that produced around 20 horsepower, which was more than enough for the plowing and belt work that most small and medium farms required at the time. Its design was revolutionary because it used the engine block and transmission housing as the structural frame of the tractor, which eliminated the need for a heavy separate frame and kept costs down. Ford produced these tractors at an incredible pace. At its peak, the Fordson accounted for roughly 77% of all tractor sales in the United States. Farmers trusted it because it was simple, inexpensive to repair, and genuinely tough for its era. Parts were readily available because Ford used the same mass production philosophy that made the Model T a household name. But there was a problem. Competition was heating up. International Harvester came out with the Farmall in 1924, which was a more versatile row crop tractor. Ford struggled to keep up with these newer designs. Domestic production of the Fordson ended in 1928 in the United States, though production continued in Ireland and England for several more years. Ford would not return to the American tractor market until 1939 with the Ford Ferguson 9N. The Fordson was not without its flaws, though. The tractor had a dangerous tendency to rear up and flip backwards when it encountered an immovable object or heavy resistance while plowing. This was a serious safety issue that resulted in fatalities. The design placed the engine low and forward, but the rear axle did not have enough weight to prevent the front end from lifting under certain conditions. Despite this, farmers continued buying and using the Fordson because nothing else on the market offered the same combination of affordability and capability. The Fordson Model F was a tractor that democratized farming. Millions of horses were replaced by this one machine, and the entire agricultural landscape of the 20th century was shaped by it. Ford built hundreds of thousands of these tractors and shipped them worldwide, including massive exports to the Soviet Union during the 1920s, where they were used to collectivize agriculture. And yet, Ford pulled the plug on American production in 1928 because the market simply moved on to more capable designs. The tractor that started it all became one of the first great tractors to be discontinued. Number 24. John Deere Model D. The John Deere Model D holds a record that no other tractor in history has been able to match. It was in continuous production for 30 years. That tells you everything you need to know about how well this tractor was built and how much farmers relied on it. The Model D was John Deere's first tractor to be sold under the John Deere name. Before the Model D, the company had acquired the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company in 1918 and sold tractors under the Waterloo Boy brand. The Model D was something entirely new. It used a horizontal 2-cylinder engine that became the signature sound of John Deere for decades. That distinctive 2-cylinder putt-putt sound is still instantly recognizable to tractor enthusiasts around the world. The engine in the Model D displaced 501 cubic inches in its later versions and was designed with simplicity at its core. 2 cylinders meant fewer moving parts, fewer things that could break, and easier maintenance for the average farmer who did not have access to a mechanic. The engine ran on kerosene, which was significantly cheaper than gasoline, making it economical to operate day after day. Over its 3-decade production run, the Model D went through several updates and improvements. Early models produced around 15 drawbar horsepower, while the final versions were putting out over 38 horsepower at the drawbar. The basic architecture, however, remained fundamentally the same. That is a testament to how good the original design was. The Model D was eventually replaced because John Deere was moving toward a new generation of tractors with more modern features. The Model R had already been introduced in 1949 as the company's first diesel tractor, and the numbered series was on the horizon. But for 30 years, the Model D was the backbone of American agriculture, and many of them are still running today. Number 23. Farmall Regular. When International Harvester introduced the Farmall Regular in 1924, they did not just release a new tractor, they created an entirely new category of farm equipment. The Farmall was the first truly successful general-purpose row crop tractor, and it changed the way farmers thought about mechanized agriculture. Before the Farmall, tractors were primarily used for heavy pulling work like plowing. If you wanted to cultivate row crops like corn, you still needed horses. The Farmall changed that with its tricycle-style front end, high ground clearance, and narrow profile that allowed it to work between rows of crops without crushing them. The Farmall Regular used a 4-cylinder engine, producing around 20 horsepower, which was adequate for the cultivating and light field work it was designed for. It had a 3-speed transmission and could handle a 2-bottom plow comfortably. But its real value was versatility. One tractor could now do the work of multiple horses and specialized machines. International Harvester produced the Farmall Regular from 1924 to 1932, building roughly 135,000 units in that time. It was replaced by the Farmall F20, which offered more power and improved features. But the original Farmall had already proven its concept, and the row crop tractor category it created would dominate farming for decades to come. Number 22. Allis-Chalmers Model WC. The Allis-Chalmers Model WC arrived in 1933 during one of the most difficult economic periods in American history. The Great Depression had devastated farming communities, and farmers needed equipment that was affordable, reliable, and tough enough to earn back its purchase price as quickly as possible. The WC delivered on all 3 counts. It was powered by a 4-cylinder engine and offered a practical amount of power for small to medium-sized farming operations. What made the WC truly special was its widespread adoption of rubber tires. While Allis-Chalmers had experimented with pneumatic rubber tires on tractors as early as 1932 with the Model U, the WC was the model that brought rubber tires to the mainstream farming market. Rubber tires were a game changer. They allowed tractors to travel faster on roads, reduced soil compaction in the field, and provided a much smoother ride for the operator. The WC proved that rubber-tired tractors were not just a novelty, they were the future. Allis-Chalmers built approximately 178,000 WC tractors between 1933 and 1940. It was priced at around $960 when it first hit the market, making it accessible to Depression-era farmers who were watching every penny. The WC was eventually replaced by the WD model, which offered hydraulic lift and other modern features. Number 21. Ford 8N. If there is one tractor that every American farmer, collector, and hobby farmer knows by name, it is the Ford 8N. This is arguably the most popular tractor ever produced in the United States, and the numbers back that up. Ford built over 534,000 units between 1947 and 1952. During that production run, the 8N accounted for roughly 25% of all tractors produced in the United States. Sales averaged more than 400 units per day for 5 straight years. The 8N was powered by a 4-cylinder flathead engine that produced around 30 horsepower. That does not sound like much by modern standards, but it was more than enough for the small and medium farms that were its primary market. The engine was incredibly simple and durable. Farmers who performed basic maintenance could expect thousands of hours of reliable service. One of the most important features of the 8N was the 3-point hitch system. This system, which had been developed in partnership with Harry Ferguson and introduced on the earlier Ford Ferguson 9N, allowed implements to be attached and detached quickly and easily. It also provided draft control, which automatically adjusted the depth of plows and other ground-engaging tools based on soil conditions. The 8N improved on the earlier 9N and 2N models with a 4-speed transmission instead of 3, a position control hydraulic system, and individual rear-wheel brakes. It was the first Ford tractor to place the clutch on the left side and the brakes on the right, a layout that became standard across the industry. The Ford 8N was discontinued in 1952 and replaced by the Ford NAA Golden Jubilee model. The transition came partly because Ford and Ferguson had a bitter legal dispute over patents related to the 3-point hitch system. Ford needed a new design that worked around Ferguson's patents. Today, the Ford 8N remains one of the most commonly seen vintage tractors on small farms, homesteads, and at tractor shows. Parts availability is outstanding because so many were produced, and a cottage industry has grown up around restoring and maintaining these machines. They were built to last, and tens of thousands of them are still proving that point every day. Number 20. Farmall Model H. The Farmall H was a mid-sized row crop tractor produced by International Harvester from 19. During that 14-year run, the company built approximately 391,000 units, making it one of the best-selling tractors of its era. The H was powered by a 4-cylinder overhead valve engine, producing about 24 horsepower at the drawbar. It had a 5-speed gearbox and was designed specifically for mid-sized row crop farmers who needed something bigger than the small Farmall A and B, but did not need the heavy-duty power of the Farmall M. What made the Farmall H beloved was its perfect balance of power, size, and fuel economy. It could handle a 2-bottom plow, run a corn picker, power a hay baler, and handle virtually any task on a mid-sized farm without breaking the bank on fuel. The overhead valve engine was smooth and efficient, and the tractor's narrow row crop configuration allowed it to work in a variety of field conditions. The Rich was replaced by the Farmall Super H in 1953, which offered more power and improved hydraulics. But the original H had already cemented its place in farming history as one of the most versatile and reliable mid-range tractors ever built. Today, the Farmall H remains one of the most collectible vintage tractors on the market, and its distinctive red paint and tricycle front end make it instantly recognizable at any tractor show or country fair. The Farm all-letter series, the A, B, C, H, and M, represented one of the most successful product lineups in tractor history. Each model targeted a specific segment of the farming market, and together they covered virtually every farming need from the smallest garden operation to the largest row crop farm. The H was the sweet spot of that lineup, and its combination of capability and economy is the reason so many of them survive to be cherished by collectors and operators today. Number 19. John Deere Model A. The John Deere Model A was produced from 1934 to 1952 and became one of the most important tractors in the company's history. Over 300,000 units were built during its 18-year production run, and the Model A helped establish John Deere as a dominant force in the American tractor market. The Model A used John Deere's signature 2-cylinder horizontal engine, which was simple, reliable, and easy to maintain. Early models produced around 18 horsepower at the drawbar, while later versions were pushing closer to 34 horsepower. The engine ran on a variety of fuels including gasoline, kerosene, and distillate, giving farmers flexibility depending on what was available and affordable in their region. One of the most significant features of the Model A was its adjustable rear wheel tread width. Farmers could change the spacing of the rear wheels to match different row widths, making the tractor adaptable to various crops and field conditions. This might seem like a small detail, but it was a major practical advantage that competing tractors did not always offer. The Model A went through several styling changes during its production run. Early models had an unstyled industrial appearance. In 1938, John Deere hired industrial designer Henry Dreyfuss to give the Model A and Model B a more modern, streamlined look. The styled versions became iconic and are among the most sought-after models by collectors today. The Model A was discontinued in 1952 when John Deere introduced its numbered series of tractors. The Model 60 replaced the A, offering more power and updated features. But the Model A had already done its job, serving as a faithful workhorse on hundreds of thousands of farms for nearly 2 decades. Number 18. John Deere Model B. The John Deere Model B was the smaller companion to the Model A, and it enjoyed an equally impressive production run from 1935 to 1952. John Deere manufactured over 357,000 Model B tractors during that period, making it one of the highest production tractors in the company's history. The Model B was designed for smaller farms and lighter work. It used a smaller version of John Deere's two-cylinder engine and produced around 14 horsepower in early models, gradually increasing to around 27 horsepower in the final versions. Like the Model A, it featured adjustable rear-wheel tread and was available with rubber tires from the beginning of its production. The B offered a 4-speed transmission and the same draft control hydraulic system as the larger models. It was the perfect tractor for farmers who needed mechanical power but did not have the acreage or the workload to justify a larger, more expensive machine. Just like the Model A, the B received the Henry Dreyfuss styling treatment in 1938, giving it the sleek green and yellow appearance that became synonymous with John Deere. The Model B was replaced by the Model 50 in 1952. Number 17. Farmall Model M. The Farmall M was the big brother of the Farmall H, and it was International Harvester's largest row crop tractor when it debuted in 1939. Production continued until 1952, and the company built approximately 270,000 units during that time. Powered by a 4-cylinder engine with a displacement of 248 cubic inches, it produced around 33 horsepower at the drawbar in its gasoline configuration. A diesel version was also available, making the Farmall M one of the first row crop tractors to offer a diesel engine option. Featured a 5-speed transmission, a 6-volt electrical system, and the rugged construction that International Harvester was known for. It was a workhorse in every sense of the word, capable of pulling a 4-bottom plow and handling the heaviest tasks on large row crop operations. Today, the Farmall M is still a popular tractor among collectors and in vintage tractor pulling competitions. Its row crop design provides excellent weight distribution, and the engine responds well to performance modifications. The M was replaced by the Super M and eventually by the Farmall 400 series, but its reputation for durability has never faded. Number 16. Massey Ferguson 135. The Massey Ferguson 135 is widely regarded as one of the most reliable small tractors ever built. Produced from 1964 to 1975, the 135 was powered by the legendary Perkins AD 3.152 3-cylinder diesel engine, and that engine is the reason this tractor earned its bulletproof reputation. The Perkins AD 3.152 is a naturally aspirated direct-injection diesel engine that displaced 152 cubic inches. It produced approximately 45 horsepower and was renowned for its simplicity, fuel efficiency, and extraordinary longevity. Owners regularly report logging over 10,000 hours on the original engine with nothing more than routine oil changes and basic maintenance. The 3-cylinder configuration was part of what made this engine so durable. Fewer cylinders meant fewer moving parts, fewer gaskets to fail, fewer injectors to maintain, and a simpler overall design that farmers could service themselves without specialized tools or training. The MF135 was also popular because of its compact size and versatility. It was perfectly suited for small farms, orchards, vineyards, and municipal work. The hydraulic system was reliable, the transmission was smooth, and the overall build quality was excellent. Massey Ferguson replaced the 135 with the 2035 model in 1975, continuing the tradition of small, reliable utility tractors. But the 135 with its Perkins diesel remains the gold standard for small tractor reliability, and well-maintained examples continue to work every day on farms around the world. What makes the 135 particularly appealing to modern buyers is its size and weight. At roughly 3,000 pounds, it is small enough to maneuver in tight spaces, light enough to avoid excessive soil compaction, and powerful enough to handle most tasks on a hobby farm or small commercial operation. It is the kind of tractor you can buy, maintain yourself, and pass down to the next generation, knowing they will get decades more service out of it. The parts supply chain for the 135 is still excellent, with both genuine Massey Ferguson replacement parts and a thriving aftermarket providing everything from gaskets and filters to complete engine rebuild kits. Number 15. Allis-Chalmers WD-45. The Allis-Chalmers WD-45 was manufactured from 1953 to 1957 in West Allis, Wisconsin. A total of approximately 90,000 units were produced, with the vast majority being gasoline models and a smaller number running on diesel fuel. The WD-45 was notable for being one of the first Allis-Chalmers tractors to offer power steering as an option. This was a significant comfort improvement for farmers who spent long days in the field. The tractor was powered by a 4-cylinder engine with 226 cubic inches of displacement, producing around 39 horsepower on the belt. The WD-45 also introduced the snap coupler implement attachment system, which was a quick connect system that made it fast and easy to swap between different implements. This was a practical, time-saving feature that farmers genuinely appreciated. Available in gasoline, tractor fuel, LP gas, and diesel configurations, the WD-45 gave farmers the flexibility to choose whichever fuel type was most economical or available in their area. The diesel version, introduced in 1954, was particularly efficient and added to the tractor's appeal. The WD-45 was replaced by the Allis-Chalmers D17 in 1957, which offered more power and updated features. Allis-Chalmers itself eventually ceased tractor production altogether. The company was acquired by Deutz Fahr in 1985 to form Deutz Allis, which was later purchased by AGCO Corporation and became AGCO Allis. The WD-45 remains a popular collector's model and is cherished by Allis-Chalmers enthusiasts. Number 14. International Harvester 1066. The International Harvester 1066 was a powerhouse tractor built from 1971 to 1976 as part of the 66 series. It was manufactured in Rock Island, Illinois, and became one of the most popular large row crop tractors of the 1970s. Under the hood, the 1066 carried the DT414 turbocharged diesel engine, a 6-cylinder unit displacing 414 cubic inches. This engine produced approximately 125 horsepower at the PTO and around 105 to 108 horsepower at the drawbar. It was a serious engine for serious work, and it gave the 1066 enough pulling power to handle the demands of large-scale farming. The 1066 offered multiple transmission options. Farmers could choose an 8-speed gear transmission, a 16-speed partial power shift transmission with torque amplifier, or in earlier models, a hydrostatic transmission. This range of choices meant that the 1066 could be configured to match virtually any farming application. In 1975, International Harvester gave the 66 series a boost in response to competition from John Deere's 30 series. The 1066 received approximately 5 extra horsepower and cab improvements. But by 1976, the 1066 was replaced by the 1086 in the new 86 series. The 1066 disappeared along with International Harvester itself. The company's agriculture division was sold to Tenneco in 1985 and merged with the JI Case Company to form Case IH. But the 1066 left a lasting impression, and many of these tractors are still working on farms today, more than 50 years after they were built. Number 13. Ford NA Golden Jubilee. Ford released the NAA Golden Jubilee tractor in 1953 to mark the 50th anniversary of the Ford Motor Company. It was the first entirely new Ford tractor design since the N series, and it featured several significant improvements over the beloved 8N. The Golden Jubilee was powered by a 134 cubic inch overhead valve engine, producing approximately 32 horsepower. This was a notable upgrade from the 8N's flathead engine, offering more power and better fuel efficiency. The tractor came with a 4-speed transmission and an improved hydraulic system with a live hydraulic pump. The Golden Jubilee was slightly larger than the 8N, measuring about 4 inches longer and 4 inches taller, and weighing approximately 100 pounds more. These differences gave it a slightly more substantial feel in the field, while maintaining the nimble handling that Ford tractor owners expected. Production of the NAA lasted only from 1953 to 1954, making it a relatively short-lived model. Ford replaced it with the 600 and 800 series tractors, which offered a wider range of configurations and power levels. But in its brief production run, the Golden Jubilee earned a reputation for exceptional toughness and reliability that matched or exceeded the 8N. Number 12. Oliver 1855. The Oliver 1855 was introduced in November 1969 as part of the 55 series and was produced through 1975. It was powered by a 6-cylinder diesel engine producing approximately 98 horsepower, making it a capable machine for medium to large farming operations. The 1855 featured the over-under hydraulic shift transmission, which gave operators 18 forward speeds and 6 reverse speeds. This transmission system was one of Oliver's most appreciated innovations because it allowed on-the-go shifting without stopping the tractor, which saved significant time in the field. The Oliver 1855 represented some of the finest engineering that the Oliver Corporation ever produced. But Oliver's story is one of corporate tragedy. The Oliver Corporation had been purchased by White Motor Corporation through the late 1960s and into the 1970s. White combined Oliver with Minneapolis-Moline and Cockshut under the White Farm Equipment banner. By 1976, the Oliver brand name was phased out entirely. The last Oliver-branded tractor rolled off the assembly line that year, ending a lineage that stretched back to 1929 when the Oliver Farm Equipment Company was formed from the merger of 4 companies, including the Hart Parr Tractor Company, which had produced what is recognized as the first successful gasoline-powered farm tractor in The Oliver 1855 was a victim of corporate consolidation, not of any deficiency in its design or performance. Many 1855s are still working today, stubbornly refusing to stop doing what they were built to do. Number 11. Minneapolis-Moline G1000. The Minneapolis-Moline G1000 was a high-horsepower tractor built from It was one of the most powerful row crop tractors available during the mid-1960s. Minneapolis-Moline had a long history of building innovative tractors. The company was formed in 1929 from the merger of the Minneapolis Steel and Machinery Company, the Minneapolis Threshing Machine Company, and the Moline Implement Company. Throughout its history, Minneapolis-Moline pushed boundaries with features like enclosed cabs and high-compression engines. The G1000 was available in both LP gas and diesel configurations, and it was designed to compete with the largest row crop tractors from John Deere and International Harvester. It featured a comfortable operator platform, responsive hydraulics, and the kind of brute pulling power that large-scale farmers demanded. Like Oliver, Minneapolis-Moline was absorbed by White Motor Corporation. The Minneapolis-Moline brand was phased out by 1974, and the G1000, along with all other MM models, became part of history. White Motor Corporation itself filed for bankruptcy in 1980. And the Farm Equipment Division eventually ended up as part of Agsio Corporation. Number 10. John Deere 4020. We have reached the top 10, and we are starting with what many consider the greatest tractor ever built. The John Deere 4020 was manufactured from 1964 to 1972 in Waterloo, Iowa, and in Mexico. John Deere produced 159 units, making it the most popular tractor of its era. The 4020 was powered by a 6-cylinder engine displacing 404 cubic inches. It was available in diesel, gasoline, and LP gas configurations, though diesel models accounted for approximately 91% of total production. The diesel version produced about 91 PTO horsepower and 84 drawbar horsepower based on official Nebraska tractor tests. What made the 4020 special was not any single feature but the total package. The synchro range transmission with 8 forward speeds was standard, and an optional power shift transmission was available for farmers who wanted the convenience of clutchless shifting. The hydraulic system was advanced for its time, with a closed center design that provided consistent responsive implement control. Options included dual rear wheels, front-wheel drive assist, and an enclosed cab with heat and air conditioning. The 420 arrived during an era when farmers were beginning to combine field operations to reduce the number of passes over their fields. The 420 arrived enough power to pull a disc and a planter in tandem, or a baler with a bale ejector and a trailing wagon. This capability made it the perfect tractor for the emerging practice of minimum tillage. John Deere also pioneered safety improvements with the 420. In 1966, the company developed Roll Guard, the first widely accepted rollover protective structure for tractors. It was offered on the 420 and other new generation tractors, and the patents were made available to the entire industry so all tractor operators could benefit. The 4020 was replaced in 1972 by the 4020-30 as part of John Deere's Generation 2 tractor lineup. But the 44 cubic inch engine that powered the 4020 lived on in later John Deere tractors for years, improved with turbocharging and intercooling. That engine was simply too good to retire. Parts for the 420 remain widely available from both John Deere and aftermarket suppliers. Many older 420s have been converted from the original 24-volt electrical system to a more practical 12-volt system, which improves starting reliability and makes it easier to find replacement electrical components. This is a straightforward conversion that most mechanically inclined owners can handle themselves. The 4020 came in several configurations. The row crop version was designed for cultivating with adjustable wheel spacing and a 97.5-inch wheelbase. The standard version was built for general farming with a 100.25-inch wheelbase. The high crop featured extended axles for crops requiring extra ground clearance, and the 600 industrial was modified for construction and industrial applications. If you polled a group of farmers and asked them which tractor they would keep if they could only have one, a surprising number would choose the 4020. It was not the most powerful, not the most luxurious, and not the most advanced tractor of its time, but it was the most perfectly balanced, offering just enough of everything a farmer needed without unnecessary complexity. That is why the 4020 is not just a great tractor. It is the standard by which all other tractors are measured. Number 9. Case 1070. The Case 1070 Agri King was a powerhouse produced by J.I. Case from 1970. It was powered by a turbocharged 6-cylinder diesel engine, producing approximately 108 PTO horsepower, and it was known for its comfortable cab and smooth power delivery. The Agri King series represented a new philosophy for Case. The company invested heavily in operator comfort, recognizing that farmers who spent 12 or more hours a day on a tractor needed a pleasant working environment. The 1070's cab featured heating, air conditioning, and improved sound insulation, which were significant upgrades over the open platform tractors of the previous decade. Case had a long and storied history in tractor manufacturing, dating back to the Jerome Increase Case Threshing Machine Company, founded in 1842. The company had been building steam engines, threshing machines, and eventually tractors for well over a century by the time the 1070 arrived. Case tractors were known for their distinctive flambeau red paint and their reputation for pulling power. The 1070 was available with a 12-speed power shift transmission that allowed operators to change speeds on the go without clutching. This was a luxury feature that made long days in the field significantly more bearable. The tractor's hydraulic system was responsive and powerful, capable of handling the largest implements of the era. But the tractor market was consolidating rapidly in the 1970s and 1980s. Tenneco acquired J.I. Case in 1967, and in 1985, Tenneco merged Case with the agriculture division of International Harvester to form Case IH. The standalone Case brand of tractors was absorbed into this new entity, and models like the 1070 became historical footnotes. What survived, however, was the tractor itself. The 1070 Agri King was built to endure, and endure it has. These tractors pop up regularly at farm auctions and on online marketplaces, often with thousands of hours on the meter and plenty of life left in them. Number 8. Massey Ferguson 399. The Massey Ferguson 399 was a mid-range utility tractor produced during the 1980s and 1990s. It featured a 97-horsepower Perkins engine and was designed for mixed farming operations that required a balance of power, fuel efficiency, and versatility. The 399 continued the Massey Ferguson tradition of building tough, practical tractors. The Perkins engine was the same family of engines that had earned the MF135 its legendary reputation, and the 399 benefited from decades of refinement and improvement. It was reliable, fuel-efficient, and straightforward to maintain. The 399 was popular in Europe, Africa, and other markets where Massey Ferguson had a strong presence. It was a tractor that farmers could depend on season after season, and many examples continue to work today with hundreds of thousands of hours on the clock. Massey Ferguson evolved through various corporate changes. The original Massey Harris Company merged with Harry Ferguson Limited in 1953 to form Massey Harris Ferguson, which was shortened to Massey Ferguson. The company was later acquired by Edgeco Corporation in 1994, and while Edgeco continues to produce tractors under the Massey Ferguson brand, the specific models that earned the name its indestructible reputation have long since been replaced by newer designs. Number 7. David Brown 990. The David Brown 990 was a British-built tractor produced from 1961. It was powered by a 4-cylinder diesel engine producing approximately 52 horsepower, and it was a favorite among British and European farmers for its reliability and ease of use. David Brown had been manufacturing tractors since the 1930s, and the company had a partnership with Harry Ferguson in the early years. The 900 represented the maturation of David Brown's tractor engineering, offering a well-balanced machine with a comfortable operator position, smooth hydraulics, and a dependable engine. The David Brown brand met its end through acquisition. Tenneco purchased David Brown in 1972 and incorporated it into its Case operations. The David Brown name was eventually dropped in favor of the Case brand, and a proud British tractor heritage was folded into an American corporate empire. The tractors themselves, however, have outlived the brand name. David Brown 9090s continue to work on farms across the United Kingdom and beyond. What made David Brown tractors stand out was their engineering precision. The company had roots in gear manufacturing, and that expertise translated into exceptionally smooth transmissions and well-machined components throughout the tractor. The 990's 6-speed gearbox was praised for its precise shifting and durability, and the hydraulic system was responsive and reliable even after years of heavy use. David Brown also had a reputation for building tractors that punched above their weight class. The 990, despite its modest 52 horsepower rating, could handle workloads that you would normally expect from a larger, more expensive machine. Farmers appreciated this capability because it meant they could get more done without investing in a bigger tractor. That practical, no-nonsense approach to engineering is a big part of why the David Brown name still commands respect among vintage tractor enthusiasts, even though the company itself has been gone for more than 50 years. Number 6. Lamborghini R503. Yes, you read that correctly. Lamborghini. Before Ferruccio Lamborghini ever thought about building sports cars to rival Ferrari, he was a tractor manufacturer. After World War II, Lamborghini started building tractors using surplus military parts. His first model, the Carioca, rolled out in The Lamborghini R503 was a capable mid-range tractor produced in the 1960s. It featured a reliable diesel engine and the kind of solid engineering that earned Lamborghini tractors a loyal following among Italian farmers. These were not flashy machines. They were built for practical, hard-working agricultural use. Ferruccio Lamborghini sold the tractor division in 1973 to the same group, using the fortune he had made in farm equipment as seed money for his luxury sports car business. The story goes that Lamborghini was dissatisfied with his Ferrari and went to Enzo Ferrari to complain about the clutch. When Ferrari dismissed him as a mere tractor manufacturer who had no business critiquing a sports car, Lamborghini decided to build his own. The rest is automotive history. Tractor production continued under the same group's ownership through the 1980s and beyond, and remarkably, Lamborghini Trattore still exists today, producing tractors under the Lamborghini name, complete with the rampaging bull logo. The modern Lamborghini tractors bear little resemblance to Ferruccio's original creations, featuring modern diesel engines, electronic fuel injection, and advanced cab systems. But the original Lamborghini tractors, built under Ferruccio's direct supervision, are now rare collector's items. They represent a fascinating intersection of agricultural engineering and automotive legend. The irony is rich. The tractor business that Enzo Ferrari mocked was the very business that funded one of Ferrari's most formidable competitors. Number 5. International Harvester 1466. The International Harvester 1466 was the big sibling of the 1066, produced from 1972 to 1976. It was powered by the DT436 turbocharged diesel engine, a massive 436 cubic inch six-cylinder unit producing approximately 148 PTO horsepower. This was a serious amount of power for a row crop tractor in the 1970s. The 1466 was designed for large-scale farming operations that needed maximum pulling power. It could handle 6 bottom plows, large discs, and the biggest planters of the era without breaking a sweat. The tractor featured heavy-duty axles, a robust hydraulic system, and the option of a comfortable enclosed cab. Like all International Harvester tractors, the 1466 disappeared when the company's agriculture division was merged with Case in 19. International Harvester had been struggling financially for years, partly due to a devastating labor strike in 1979 that lasted nearly 6 months and cost the company an estimated $600 million in lost sales. The merger with Case was ultimately a survival move, but it spelled the end for standalone IH tractor models. The 1466 remains popular among collectors and tractor-pulling enthusiasts. Its powerful engine and rugged construction make it a formidable machine on the pulling track, and well-maintained examples continue to command strong prices. Number 4. Massey Ferguson 35X. The Massey Ferguson 35X was a limited production variant of the standard MF35, produced in the early 90s. It featured a more robust engine and several design improvements that set it apart from the regular production model. The 35X has earned a dedicated following among vintage tractor enthusiasts, partly because of its relative rarity and partly because of its exceptional build quality. The tractor was known for its longevity and adaptability across various farming conditions, and it could handle everything from light cultivating to moderate hauling work. Well-preserved Massey Ferguson 35X tractors can command prices between $8,000 and $20,000, depending on condition, with fully restored examples occasionally exceeding $25,000 at auction. For a tractor that originally sold for a fraction of that price, this appreciation in value speaks to the enduring quality of its construction. Number 3. Minneapolis Moline UDLX Comfort Tractor. The Minneapolis Moline UDLX is one of the rarest and most fascinating tractors ever produced. Built in the late 1930s, this tractor was decades ahead of its time. It featured a fully enclosed cab with an integrated driving area, heater, radio, and even a passenger seat. The UDLX was designed not only to work in the field, but also to serve as the farmer's road vehicle capable of highway speeds. Only a very limited number of UDLX tractors were ever produced, making surviving examples extraordinarily rare and valuable. Well-preserved UDLX tractors have sold for between $40,000 and $60,000 at auction, with exceptional examples commanding even higher prices. The UDLX failed commercially because farmers in the 1930s were not ready for such a radical concept. The enclosed cab added cost and complexity that Depression-era buyers could not justify, and the idea of a dual-purpose tractor car did not gain enough traction. Minneapolis Moline quickly discontinued the model, but the UDLX had planted a seed. The concept of an enclosed, comfortable tractor cab would eventually become standard across the industry. It just took 30 years for the rest of the market to catch up. Today, every major tractor manufacturer offers fully enclosed cabs with climate control, entertainment systems, and GPS guidance. The UDLX was laughed at in the 1930s, but it predicted exactly where the industry was heading. That makes it one of the most visionary and most tragically misunderstood tractors in agricultural history. Number 2. Fordson Major E27N and Power Major. The Fordson Major series, particularly the E27N produced from 1945 to 1952, and the later Power Major produced from 1958 to 1961, represented some of the finest tractors ever built in Ford's British operations. The E27N Fordson Major used a 4-cylinder gasoline or TVO engine and was designed for the demanding conditions of British and European agriculture. It was rugged, dependable, and relatively easy to maintain, which made it enormously popular in the post-war period when farmers were rebuilding and mechanizing their operations. The Power Major and its successor, the Super Major, added diesel power, improved hydraulics, and greater overall capability. These tractors were workhorses in the truest sense, and they were sold worldwide. The Fordson brand carried enormous credibility in markets from the United Kingdom to Australia to South America. The Fordson name was eventually phased out as Ford consolidated its global tractor operations. The New Holland acquisition in the 1980s and subsequent corporate restructuring saw the Ford tractor brand itself disappear into what is now New Holland, part of CNH Industrial. But the Fordson Major remains one of the most recognizable and respected vintage tractors in the world. Its ruggedness is legendary, and surviving examples continue to start, run, and work as if they have no intention of ever stopping. Number 1. John Deere Model R. At the top of our lists sits the John Deere Model R, produced from 1949 to 1954. This was John Deere's first diesel tractor, and it was a genuine engineering marvel for its time. The Model R was powered by a massive two-cylinder diesel engine displacing 416 cubic inches. It produced approximately 45 drawbar horsepower and 51 PTO horsepower, which made it the most powerful tractor John Deere had ever built at that point. The two-cylinder configuration kept the engine simple and reliable, continuing the tradition that John Deere had established decades earlier. Starting a diesel engine in the 1940s was no simple matter, especially in cold weather. John Deere solved this problem with an ingenious pony motor starting system. A small gasoline engine was used to warm up and turn over the main diesel engine, ensuring reliable starts even in the coldest conditions. This system was brilliant in its simplicity and effectiveness. The Model R also featured a live independent PTO, which allowed the PTO to operate even when the tractor was stopped. This was critical for running implements like hay balers that required continuous PTO power, regardless of whether the tractor was moving. The Model R set the standard for John Deere's future diesel tractors. Its engine design and starting system influenced John Deere models for years to come. It was replaced by the Model 80 in 1955, which offered more power and a live hydraulic system. But the Model R had proven that John Deere could build a diesel tractor that was just as reliable and just as farmer-friendly as the gasoline models that had built the company's reputation. Only about 21,000 Model R tractors were produced during its 5-year production run, making it relatively uncommon compared to the high-volume models on this list. But every one of those tractors was built to an extraordinary standard of quality, and surviving examples are prized by collectors. The Model R weighed in at over 7,600 pounds, making it a substantial machine that could dig into the ground and pull heavy loads without losing traction. Its fuel economy was excellent for its power class, and the diesel engine was significantly cheaper to run than comparable gasoline engines. For farmers who calculated their operating costs carefully, the Model R paid for itself through fuel savings alone. The sound of a Model R at work is something that veterans of that era never forget. The slow, rhythmic thump of the massive two-cylinder diesel engine had a cadence all its own, slower and deeper than any other tractor on the market. It was the sound of raw mechanical power being delivered with absolute simplicity. The John Deere Model R represents the bridge between the old world of two-cylinder simplicity and the new world of diesel efficiency. It was the tractor that proved diesel power belonged on the farm, and it did so with the kind of build quality that means many of these machines are still running more than 70 years later. It tops our list not because it was the most popular or the most powerful, but because it represented a pivotal moment in agricultural history. The moment when the future of farming changed forever, built on a foundation that was meant to last. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below and tell us which of these 25 tractors is your personal favorite. We love hearing your stories and your memories of these incredible machines. Maybe your grandfather had one of these tractors on the family farm. Maybe you are still using one today. Whatever your story is, we want to hear it.